Hello! I'm Katie Cordy and I'm your fine arts teacher today. Today, we're going to learn about the multimedia artist Alex Yanez, who is best known for his vibrant, three-dimensional art installations. Alex Yanez is a visual artist who was born in Miami, Florida, and he lives there when he isn't traveling the world for art shows. When he was young, he adored skateboarding, and the artwork he saw on the bottom of skateboards inspired him to draw. He won his very first art competition at the age of 6 with a drawing of a skateboarding bunny listening to music. As he grew older, he learned how to woodwork and made his own treehouse at the age of 10. When Alex Yanez grew older, he began blending his love of woodworking, skateboarding, tattoos, hip-hop, and rock culture into his own style of art. With sharp, clean lines and bold tropical colors, Alex Yanez creates artwork that literally pops out at you by layering wood, acrylic, resin, and more together to create bright, pop art-esque installations that are often larger than life. Since becoming a full-time artist in 2006, Alex Yanez has gained notice from many companies you may have heard of. Adidas, Nike, Coca-Cola, Sony, and more have commissioned him to create artwork, often to be shown off in their stores. His artwork has appeared all over the world, including Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Detroit, Philadelphia, London, Paris, Berlin, Australia, and Japan. Alex Yanez shows that hard work can pay off, but he hasn't become arrogant in his success. Humble and friendly, he seeks to help others both in his day-to-day life and to the larger world. He regularly helps charities and organizations such as St. Jude's Hospital, the Dan Marino Foundation, Miami's Children's Museum, NBA Cares, the Miami Children's Hospital, and the Children's Trust. He specifically loves working with children and bolstering their love of art. Pause here and discuss. What about Alex Yanez's art pops out for you? What is the first thing that you notice about his artwork? What about for your friends? It's always important to stretch before drawing, painting, or more, so follow along. Now we're going to create our own piece of Alex Yanez inspired artwork based off of his colorful bird series. For our birds, we're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil, a Sharpie, markers or something else to color with, a black piece of paper for a frame if you would like, a glue bottle, and if you're a part of my own class, you'll probably end up with a cheat sheet for your name and your date. So let us begin. First and foremost, pause this video and get paper passed out as well as pencil. So again, you're going to need a piece of paper and you are going to need a pencil. With your paper, you are going to want it landscape, which means long part on the top. We're going to want it horizontal. So landscape, because, well, this is a traditional way to do a landscape. Portrait, landscape. I can never remember if it's hamburger or hot dog, so just make your paper match mine. Then pause again if needed to sharpen pencils, make sure that everything's ready, and then begin. What we're going to do is we're going to start by making our bird's head. How we're going to make our bird's head is essentially we're going to be making a sideways D. We're going to start by drawing a rainbow. We want our birds pretty big. So start by drawing yourself a rainbow. My rainbow is closer to the edge of my paper, but still allows me to have room for a beak because I want plenty of room for my body. I am drawing darker than I would actually in real life due to the fact that my camera needs to be able to see it since I'm recording off of my phone. So when you're doing it, make your lines lighter. Draw it light till you get it right. Now I'm going to connect the bottom of my rainbow to make my sideways D. Once we've connected the bottom of our rainbow, we're going to start by adding the beak of our bird. And the beak of our bird is just going to be a simple triangle. It's going to come off and make a little triangle. Mine is pointing towards the edge of the paper. Again, that way I have plenty of room for my body later. Now that I have my beak and my head, oh dear, let's add eyeballs because right now my bird doesn't look much like a bird. So I'm going to draw a circle just to the best of my abilities. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. And I'm going with a rather large eyeball here. In the center of my eyeball, I'm going to add the same markings that Alex Yanez does on his bird. So I'm going to start by drawing a C. So again, right in the center of my eye, I'm drawing a C. Then I'm going to curve around a little bit and put a V. So I'm going to end up with something kind of looks like a lily pad, kind of looks like a Pac-Man depending on how you see it. This part is going to stay white. This part here that I'm just scribbling on will end up black later. So again, unlike with some character art, instead of doing black in the center, we're going to do black on the outside. Now I'm going to give my bird his eyebrows. Alex Yanez's birds have kind of almost like serious, intense, almost angry eyebrows. I find them rather fun. I think they look like lightning bolts. So what I'm going to do is, starting just above my eyeball, I'm going to make a line going downwards, ever so slightly pointing towards my beak. If you don't want yours to look so angry looking, you can make yours flat. If you go upwards, you'll end up with a very sad looking bird. Or if you want something more happy looking, instead of doing a straight line, do something more like a rainbow. But again, I'm trying to mimic the artist's work. I'm trying to be, trying to mimic it. So now I'm going to come up and make an extra angry eyebrow. And this is going to become the first part of my triangle. So essentially we're going to do one triangle here, and then we're going to do one more. So we're kind of doing like a bunch of lightning bolts to make fierce looking eyebrows. To give a three-dimensional look, this part is optional. If you like it how it is, keep it how it is. But what I'm going to do is at the tip of my eyebrow, I'm going to come up, kind of mimic this line, but just make it a little more high up, and then connect it to the tip of my triangle. I'm going to do the same thing. In fact, I'm going to even raise it above the head. I'm going to raise my head a little bit, make really three-dimensional looking eyebrows, and connect them. And this just gives me a more three-dimensional look. Again, that part completely optional. You don't want to do it, don't do it. Just start at the bottom of your eyebrow, go up, connect. Kind of almost like an L shape. Now we're going to start our body. We're essentially going to make the exact same shape of our head. We're just upside down. So we're going to start at the tip of my head where the beak is. I'm going to come down. And I'm going to come around. For me, if I wasn't recording, I'd actually move the paper more. I'd actually twist it like this to easily get a smoother line. But I'm trying to remain consistent for easy viewing. So if you need to, please turn your paper, turn it upside down, whatever is easiest to make smoother lines. But essentially, I'm just going to curve around to make my birdie body. These birds are round and they're kind of squat. If you ended up with a really long bird, that's okay. And if you ended up with a really short bird, maybe, I don't know, your bum's about here, that's okay too. Just roll with it. We're not looking for perfectionism here. Perfectionism doesn't exist in art. Now I'm going to connect the back of my head to my bum. And now I essentially end up with another sideways D. Just going in an opposite direction, or, you know, an upside down half circle. Kind of looks like a slice of watermelon, you know? So now we have our bird head, our bird beak, eyeball, eyebrows, body, but oh dear, totally missing the wings. We're going to start by drawing the feathers on our wings before we actually draw the wings itself. I practiced this multiple times and figured out that this was going to be the easiest method. So if you think of another method that you think would be easier for you, try it out. Otherwise, just follow along. At the edge of my bum, I'm essentially going to come out and I'm going to make 3 triangles. I'm going to come out long ways and I'm going to come back in. Triangle number 1. Then I'm going to do it again. Triangle number 2. And triangle number 3. So again, 3, 1, 2, 3 triangles. Now we're going to create the rest of our wing because right now it kind of looks like our bird is like whoosh, speeding away. Kind of looks a little silly. So we're going to fix that. In between the space from the edge of my bird's head to my eyebrow, so about halfway about here, does not have to be perfect. I'm just guesstimating. You don't want it lining up with your eyeball. It'll end up way too short, and you don't want it ending up with your beak because it'll be way too long. So somewhere in between your beak and your eyeball, make a quarter of a circle. Make half of a U. This is going to become this top of your bird's wing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make another shape just like this, another quarter circle, another half a U, and we're going to bring it down and around to meet the bottom of our triangle that we made earlier. So we're going to come down and around and connect it. This might take you a couple of shots. When I was practicing, it definitely took me a couple of shots. So again, if you need to erase and you need to try again, do so. If you need to tilt your paper, please do so. Whatever method works best for you. The lines here that are essentially your leftover bum that connect your feathers to your wings, you can choose to keep them and color these in cool colors, more power to you, or you can erase them. I'm going to erase mine because I'm going to mimic Alex a little bit more on mine. But if you wish to create your own design on yours, do it. That's the whole point of art, right? Is you get inspired by something you see and then you make it your own. So I have my head, my eyeballs, my eyebrows, my beak, my body, my wings. But oh dear, where are my tail feathers? With Alex's birds, his tail feathers stick straight up. Many bird species actually do stick their tail feathers straight up, especially when they're communicating. So for all that this is very unrealistic bird, it also hints at some actual real birds, which I think is neat. But essentially we're going to come off of our wing and we're going to come up and make a triangle and then come down. Ironically, if I had kept my lines here from my feathers, they would have connected. But again, I'm choosing not to keep my feathers, but that's up to me. Now I'm gonna make a second one. So I'm gonna go slightly to the left and I'm gonna make just another one of these, but bigger. I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna come back down. So at this point in time, you should have a head, an eyeball, an eyebrow, a beak, a wing, a body, and your tail feathers, which kind of look like cool fins, kind of like shark fins. I don't know, I really like them. I think they're a lot of fun. So now comes the fun part, in my opinion, is now you get to start creating designs on your birds. This is the part where if you wish to deviate from me, change things up, please do so. Make cool designs, zigzags, stripes, swirls, anything you'd like in your wings, on your head, on your tail feathers. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to mimic Alex, and I'm going to essentially copy shapes that are already here. It's called a repeating pattern. So I'm going to make another triangle on my tail feathers. And I'm going to copy my wing pattern again, but do it smaller. I'm making mine a little bit more simple than what he did on his actual birds, but again, I'm trying to stay kind of true to form. So I'm going to start with my straight line that made the back of my bird. I'm going to make my 3 triangles. 1, 2, 3. And over here at the other end, I'm going to add my half a U again, my quarter circle, and I'm going to curve down again. Again, if you're choosing to do a completely different pattern on yours, good for you. Get inventive. And I'm going to do that one more time. But I'm going to make mine slightly different this time because I'm going to run out of room. So I'm going to do 1 triangle, 2 triangles, a wonky 3rd triangle. But this time I'm not going to make my U pattern. I just don't have enough room to make it look good in my opinion. I'm going to shorten that. And so from this edge to here, I'm just going to make a meet. I'm going to curve around. And make them meet. So now my bird has cool patterns. Now, these birds are meant to be a rocking sculpture. So when you touch them, they bob up and down, right? But we're drawing this, which means you have your little bird. This was one of my little tester ones. And you wish to give it 2 lines for legs. And you want to do 1, 2, 3 toes, 1, 2, 3 toes, and make it stand up because, well, frankly, you can. Please, feel free to do so. So again, if you want to make legs, each leg coming off your body is going to be a straight line downwards. It's essentially going to be an upside down V with a line down the middle. Or if you'd like to prefer to think of it as 2 V's that happen to touch, or the world's weirdest looking W. Once you have your bird design finished, whether you're adding legs or not, it's time to pause and pass out the Sharpies. Once you have your Sharpies, please make sure to put the caps on the back, that way they do not get lost. And we're going to trace over all of our lines and color in our eyeballs. Doesn't really matter where you start wherever it interests you. I'm gonna start with my eyeball. Now, something you can do once you've traced everything, that if you want to make it look a little more three-dimensional in areas, you can make the lines thicker in places that you want to pop out. So for instance, I'm going to trace the bottom of my wings a little thicker. And this part's optional, it's just if you want to. You can make things look a little more 3D, make things pop a little bit more. I'm also going to do the bottom of my U for my bird. Not a lot thicker, just slightly. I'm also going to do the sides of my tail feathers. I chose to do the right sides. And then I'm going to add a little bit more to the back of my neck. Not a lot, just barely. And the bottom of my beak. Just gives my bird a little more oomph, a little more pop out. Again, do you have to do this? Absolutely not. If you don't like the look of it, simply don't do it. But again, all I did was I thickened the lines on the bottom of my wing, on the bottom of my bird, on the right side of my tail feathers, a little bit on the right side of my neck, and the bottom of my beak. Now it's time for us to start coloring. I think this lesson is really, really good for markers, so that's what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to try to pick my colors pretty intentionally. So this is where a little color theory comes in. I could choose to do something with cold colors, which are my purples, my blues, my greens. If you have any like teal colors, thanks for running away from me, markers, right? These are all cool colors. Or I can choose to use hot colors, pinks, oranges, yellows, reds. Oop, there we go. Really good at holding things apparently. All right, these are all hot colors. Or you could choose to use complementary colors, which are two colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. For instance, purple and orange are on the opposite side of each other on the color wheel. Thanks for just running away, all my markers. You can really tell that my dining room table is completely even here, right? Totally. I'm lying. It's not level at all. Or you can choose to use complementary colors, which are colors that are near each other on the color wheel. Where did my blue go? Apparently I put them away, or I never yanked them out. Apparently I wasn't paying attention. Which are colors that are just near each other on the color wheel, right? So for instance, sunsetty colors. Oop, ta-da! So it depends. Or if you want, just make your bird completely rainbow, like just go crazy, right? So choose your colors wisely because markers do not erase. So again, put your markers up against each other, decide what looks good, and then you're gonna color. If you are a part of my class, I allow you to have 3 markers at a time. Again, 3 markers at a time, and please make sure to put the caps on the back of them so that we do not end up with the problem of, teacher, I've lost the cap of my marker and I don't know where it's gone. Let's not dig under desks, friends. Let's just put the caps on the back of your markers. If you find a dead marker, and I should have told you this about the Sharpies too, please make sure to give them to your adult in charge so that dead markers do not end up back wherever you keep your markers or your Sharpies, because otherwise the next time you use them or another child uses them, it's going to be like, this is weird. Why doesn't this work? When it could have just been replaced. All right, so pick your markers and then begin coloring. For me, I'm going to use hot colors for my bird. Why? Well, mostly because I just like them. And second is because Alex Yanez, he lives in Miami. And Miami is a very, very hot city. So I'm thinking about, well, using hot colors. So now, color in section by section, kind of like a coloring book. If you have pencil lines that are showing, don't worry, they're gonna get covered up. If you're really concerned about them showing because maybe you're gonna use a lot of yellow, come and erase them. But otherwise, just chill out and begin to color in your bird. So I finished coloring my bird, but obviously there's no background. If you're short on time, just create a cool design in the background. But if you have more time, let's create something a little more in depth. Now, if you want to create a background that isn't what I'm making, go ahead, make it your own. I'm going to make a Miami themed one because, well, again, Alex Yanes is from Miami. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to draw essentially a beach. I'm going to make a soft curve from one side of the paper to my belly, and then from my belly to the other side of the paper. But that's really boring. If I just make this beach, make this sky, yawn. So I'm going to add some things. First and foremost, this is Miami. We need a city, right? We need the city, Miami. So I'm going to make a bunch of rectangles back here to represent Miami. That's a little crooked, so I'm gonna try again. And I'm gonna overlap my rectangles. So I'm gonna end this one without actually drawing it back down to the bottom because I'm actually gonna put another one right here. And this is just gonna be my background. But, oh man, that's pretty boring too. So Miami is also famous for things like palm trees. So I'm actually going to erase this line here. You can put your palm tree anywhere, but I'm gonna put at least one palm tree in. So I'm gonna clear myself space over here. And I'm gonna put in my palm tree. For my palm tree, I'm going to draw an X. Like this. Da-da-da. Then, from the tip of my X, I'm gonna come out, come back in, come back out, come back in. I'm gonna trace over this a little dark. I'm worried that my camera's not picking it up very well. I'm essentially making a bunch of little V's that will make my palm tree. Another way to do this is start at the tip of the palm frond, make a V, make a mini V. And if you're like, oh, Miss Cordy, palm fronds are my nemesis. I despise these. Don't you worry. Another way to make palm fronds is to take a green colored pencil or marker, start at the stalk, and then just go outwards. But I'm trying to make cartoony ones to go with my cartoony bird, so I'm gonna continue making myself little triangles. And if you see your pencil lines from your building, because unfortunately I didn't plan this through well enough apparently, don't you worry about it, because when we color them they should vanish pretty well. So if you're like, oh my, don't panic. So there is my palm fronds, but my palm fronds are not connected to the ground. Oh dear. So I'm just gonna make a slightly curving line. 1, like a flower stem. 2 for a slightly thicker flower stem. Hey, there's a palm tree. And if you'd like a second one, you can draw a second one. I'm gonna draw a second one. Or you can add another detail. For instance, I forgot to add windows to my poor building, so I'm going to come back and do those. But I'm just going to make my little V's. And again, I'm drawing very dark, so this appears on the camera. Please do not draw as dark as me. Draw light till you get it right. There are my 2 palm trees. And just because I want to, I'm just going to put a scribbly little bush behind them so that I kind of have a foreground, a midground, and a background. So I'm literally like drawing clouds for my bushes. Just little U's, nothing really fancy. So then I'm going to throw in some windows, little rectangles. I'm not worried about making them all line up. Heck, You know, I might not even draw all of them. I might just decide these are going to be the yellow ones. Everything else, you know, I'm just going to color in gray. Drawing every window is great, but it can be very time consuming. And if you know that you are a slow worker, which is not an issue, then just simply don't draw every window like I am. Obviously, I can draw fairly fast because I have a lot of practice. If you're like, I'm not there yet, hey, no judgment, dude. It takes practice. So again, I'm just gonna add in my little windows. If you're still working on your palm tree, that's all right, just keep working. So now that I have my city, I'm going to add more details. Miami also is, well, it has beaches, right? It has water, therefore. So I'm going to draw the ocean over here. Just a long horizontal line. This will become my ocean. And because I want my ocean to also appear a little closer, I'm going to put in some sea foam rolling onto the shore. So I'm simply going to make a little curlicue. Just going to make essentially a rainbow, come around, connect. Right? And I'm just going to do this a few times to make fun, swirly ocean water. And right behind these, I'm just going to make a squiggly line, and this will become my water. So I'll end up leaving this white to become my foam, and then this blue. But let's say for a moment you look at these and you're like, Miss Cordy, way too cartoony for me. Just not my jam. No worries. Another option for this is to erase these. Unless you didn't draw them at all, in which case, totally fine by me. And you can make more curves. And make this, for instance, dark blue. If you have a light blue, make it light blue, and then white. Right? Ta-da! Another type of ocean. But I have this blank spot over here, and I don't want to add ocean over here because I feel like that would just look like the ocean is encroaching on my bird, like he's just gonna run out of room. So you know what? Instead, I'm gonna make a little bush over here. So I'm going to make a slight half rainbow that's sideways. So essentially, I just want a slight curve, and I'm gonna make a slight curve back. I'm not gonna go all the way down to the bottom. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm drawing part of a leaf, but I'm not gonna draw the entire leaf, because what I am gonna do is draw another curve and another little curve. And this is an easy way to draw leaves when you're trying to do a bush. Sometimes I really wanna make them more curvy like a cloud, but when they're up close, I want them to actually make it look like leaves. So I'm just gonna draw half leaves, nothing fancy. Just pretending there's a bush over here. And yours might end up looking different than mine. That's good, it's a bush. Bushes are supposed to look organic. And I'm gonna throw some flowers in here because, you know, I like happy things. So I'm gonna draw a circle and half a hot dog. Half a hot dog, half a hot dog, as many half a hot dogs as I would like to have petals for my daisies. Or maybe they're cone flowers. I have cone flowers in my yard. They're these pretty daisy-like flowers, but they're really, really good for bees and butterflies. And they attract a type of bird called a American goldfinch. And I rather like them. So when I color them in, I'm gonna make these ones black in the center and orange on the outside, just like my cone flowers at home. But hey, that's a personal preference. Next thing I think I'm going to do is, you know what, I'm gonna add the sun. Miami, very hot, which is saying something because I come from Chico, California, and Chico, California is sweltering. So I'm just going to make a slight curve over here, kind of like a part of a circle. And you know what? I'm going to make, there's so many different ways to draw sunrise, but for this one, I think I'm just going to go with the classic triangle form, where I'm going to draw V's pointing at my sun. So again, just drawing V's. They're all pointing at my sun. They're like, hey, you. And then I'm just going to cap them off and turn them into triangles. And then before we begin tracing and coloring in, you can add anything else you want. You know, if your bird is standing, maybe, I don't know, you're going to do something crazy like put it on a skateboard. Since, you know, Alexianes likes skateboards. You know, I essentially just drew a potato like a hot dog. You know, give it some cool looking wheels, you know. There's my blue marker. There it is. I'm a skateboarding bird. Whee! You know, whatever makes you happy. So add in whatever details you would like. You know, you want to throw in something that makes you excited, do it. But then what we're going to do is that you have a choice. If you have time, and you should have time if you're one of my students, since our classes are quite long, you can either trace in Sharpie, or if you're in my classroom, next to my Sharpie should be ballpoint pens. And if you trace in Sharpie, it'll be all very vivid and your bird will blend in a little bit more. Due to the fact that this lesson is about the bird, I am personally going to choose to trace in ballpoint pen so that my lines are thicker and my bird really, really pops out. So again, doesn't really matter if you want to use Sharpie, ballpoint pen, both. You might decide to use ballpoint pen for things in the background that you don't want to pay close attention to, and use Sharpie for things up in the foreground. I'm going to start in ballpoint pen because if I decide it's not thick enough, I can always just come in and I can trace these in Sharpie. Once you've traced in Sharpie though, well, it's going to be thick. That is what it is. So pause here, go get Sharpies and ballpoint pens if you're ready, and let's begin. Oh, one last tip. Oops, one last tip. If your ballpoint pen is starting to run out of ink, you could take a piece of scrap paper and draw little circles until it has ink again, or on the back side of your paper. And if you're really struggling, and it sounds gross, but you can lick at the tip of the pen, just the tip of the ballpoint pen, and that will work again. Don't lick the Sharpies, but you can very briefly touch the tip of the ballpoint pen to your tongue, and it will help get the ink running again. All right, so now go get your stuff, begin tracing. So once you have finished tracing everything, then it's time to color. You can choose to continue working with markers, or if you have access to colored pencils and crayons, then you can use those. I'm going to choose to use colored pencils because I really want my bird to really just pop out. But again, choose whatever mediums are available to you and that you prefer. Once you have your bird fully colored in, then we're going to glue on the frame, if you have one. If you have a frame, you're gonna need your piece of paper and your glue bottle. With my glue bottles, you just need to take off the red caps. There you go. And if the red caps are there. And when you put your hand above the glue bottle, you should be able to squeeze it and feel air coming out. That's how you know if it's not clogged. If it is clogged, with my glue bottles, I should have paper clips, broken paper clips running around that you shove down the bottle of the neck and it unclogs it for you. So if that happens to you, broken paper clip. What we're gonna do is we're gonna flip over our bird. Hey, you can see my tester spots. And we're essentially going to make a rectangle. Again, we're just going to make a rectangle around the edges. You do not want it exactly on the edge because when you squish it down, it'll just go everywhere. And at the same time, you don't want it like in the center because then your edges won't glue down. So then we're gonna take our glue bottle and we're simply going to follow a rectangular shape. You won't have my lines to follow, and I'm not trying to perfectly follow my lines, but there it is. Keep your glue bottle nice and low. Higher you get, oh no, squiggly mess you get. So keep it low until you're just barely above the paper or touching the paper, and make yourself, again, a nice gluey rectangle. No puddles, but at the same time, you don't want anything so thin that the glue is not gonna work. Once you have your bird glued, then we're going to very carefully lift it up, and if you need to, ask a friend for help. Flip the paper over and press it down. Always have your glue on the smaller piece of paper. That way it's always just the right size. So then if you are one of my kids, you'll also have a little info sheet. I accidentally called it a cheat sheet earlier. Whoops. No, these are info sheets. They just have a little paragraph about what we learned today. And I'm gonna flip it over. And I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I'm gonna take my glue and I'm going to make a rectangle. That's not, well, in this case, a square. It's not all the way on the edge, but not in the center either. It doesn't matter where this goes on the back side as long as your name and your date is on it. And you're simply going to flip it over and squish it down. I highly recommend, if you're a classroom, not quite stacking these yet, because some of your kids no doubt has a little glue peeking out the edges. In fact, I do here, right here. So I would wait until they're a little more dry before you stack them together, just to prevent anybody from accidentally gluing all their artwork on top of each other, because boy, has it happened. And there for you, haha, is a beautiful Alex Yanes inspired bird. Have a great day, everybody.